Hi, I'm McCarthy, and I help people with their breakups, limited beliefs, relationship issues, and some other stuff. Today we're going to talk about a third of men under 30 are not having sex. Is this true? I don't know. I find it debatable. I'll tell you that much. It's one of those things where people throw out a third, according to what? A third of the world? A third of America? I don't even think it's possible to get that stat correct. Are we going to depend on a questionnaire? Some kind of questionnaire that's going to be like, hey man, according to this, you guys are under 30. Is it an online thing that they're coming up with this third under 30? Is it possible? Sure. Is it a triggering number? And like, my question is, if someone goes, oh yeah, that's true, why are they relating to that? Now, saying that, I think it's underrated how many guys are out there, and women, that would be, let's just say Americans, right? And they're virgins till they're 25 or 23, and they're embarrassed about it. They feel like they're off. And I've had a couple friends who were like, lost my virginity at 25, 26. Usually grew up highly religious. Usually. Right? And I don't even flinch. It's like, all right, man. It's not like the movies where everyone scores in high school or something like that. Right? So it's not that. It's why it's happening would be the bigger issue. So we're going to review Courtney Ryan's video here that's got 400,000. Courtney's an absolute superstar on YouTube right now. Congratulations. She's well-dressed, well-appointed, great appearance, and discusses some interesting topics. So today we got B on the mic today, and he's going to chime in. B, what's your demographic? What's your age? Where are you coming from?
So I'm 36 from the Bay Area.
All right.
Same as you. So, yeah.
And so what do you think? Do you think it's possible that this is absolutely true, that a third of men under 30 aren't having sex?
No, I want to see the statistics on this, but yeah, like you said.
So like right off the cuff, when
yeah.
you see that or read that, you don't think, oh yeah, that's true.
No. But according to who? Like, I want to see the statistics. She's going to bust out.
And then here's the thing too, about a third of men under 30 aren't having sex, meaning they've had it before or they've never had it.
Yeah, like they're just like, just going through a dry spell or something, or.
And what are the reasons? Right. And so like I said, you see something like this and everyone goes, oh my God, a third of men, and this is what you see now too, is like people take a Washington Post or an article and then they start going, yeah, a third of men right now are not, like in America, I don't know, in California, I don't know how many people were taken on this, a third of what sample size?
Right.
Is it possible? Yeah. Would I say that there's... And here's the other thing. People go, hey, yeah, there's a third of men. Who's to say in the 1950s there wasn't 50% of men not having sex under 30? I don't know, right? Like, what are we comparing this to? A third of men under 30 are not having sex. It's just amazing, some of these things. How you doing, Rye Flint? So we're going to dive into this a little deeper. But, I mean... So off the cuff, B, in your opinion, because you're 36, been around the block a little bit. I don't know your full intimate history here.
Right.
But is this accurate, you think, in California right now, where you're from?
I honestly would think that it's probably increasing. Like we're, I think, becoming, like you said, it's probably more prevalent like when they're more religious. Like in more religious countries, or like when we were more religious, as in the U.S. But yeah, I could see it being like like it happening more. So,
all right, let's just say that a third of men under 30. Let's just say this is absolutely true, which I don't think it's absolutely true.
No,
that's the problem.
No.
And I don't care to believe it or not to believe it. It doesn't really affect me as an individual.
Right.
What I have a problem with is people read this. And they start to get on this bandwagon of like, see?
It's absolute truth, like.
Well, no, because so when you read something like this, what does it make you feel?
Right. Like there's a serious problem going on.
Yeah,
like if I were to read this, I'd be like, oh, this is a problem.
And then what's the next feeling? Like empathy for these guys under 30, or the women are all bad now, so it's the women's fault.
Yeah, probably like that might go through my
All
head.
right,
Yeah.
all right. So if it is true that a third of men under 30, let's just say for the fucking world,
Right.
let's be highly dramatic here,
Right.
and it might be more than that for the world. Who knows, right?
Mhm.
Let's just say that's true. What is the main reason?
Like, are you asking me what's the main reason for that? I would
Yeah, what's
say
your opinion on that?
probably
If that's true.
Probably porn is what my biggest like thought about that is more people are watching porn nowadays, like the accessibility of it, and yeah, I think that just is like a huge demotivator for men to get out there and start like chopping it up in the real world. So
it'd be porn. Anything
porn,
else? Second reason?
Social media. I don't know. That's just like what comes to mind at first.
I'd throw in video games.
Video games, sure. Like that
I mean, I've
kind of
never been a
content,
big
yeah.
video game player myself, but
Yeah,
I know
absolutely.
that you've played quite a few video games, and
I
it does
have.
occupy your time space.
Absolutely, you can get addicted to that stuff, and that's where you spend most
And
of your
there's-
time. So yeah,
There's actually intimate video games too, right? There's video games that have like.
yeah, I think you can do like role playing kind of games.
You never played those
No,
games.
I've never
though.
played those. I'm more of like a shooter type of game, but yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. Where
I
you
knew-
can get like in the world, like you're more immersed in the world. Yeah.
Well, what's interesting about that is that, Andrew Tate blowing up and
Yeah.
bringing to light all these guys that are on Twitch that are video game
Yeah.
legends.
Right.
I don't know what you call them, dude. Because you kind of talking to you,
Legends,
I was like, who's this guy Aiden or who's this
Uh-huh,
person? And you're
uh-huh.
like, oh, they got 1 million, 2 million,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so,
Young kids, 20s,
right, and I'm like,
yeah.
so they just play video games online and share that, right? But then when you hear them talk,
Yeah.
and they would talk to someone like Andrew Tate or they're on their videos,
Mm-hmm.
I'd believe they're not having sex.
Yeah. I mean, who knows, really? But
But some
yeah.
of these dudes, I should pull up one of those videos actually to share. Some of these dudes that were in their rooms, and they were like, I play 14 to 15 hours a day,
Right.
proudly, and
Right.
they're legends at the game.
right.
And they're like, I've been doing it for 5 years, and then they go into like how difficult video game playing is and stuff like that, and it's like,
All right.
it's even if I guess if you have that fame on Twitch or one of these things, some of these kids are probably going to get some females based on status, but
Sure.
then sitting on your ass playing video games for a long time isn't going to transfer over to the social skills, right?
Probably not. Probably.
I'm going to have to pull up that video where he talks about that. All right, so we got 3 on deck, 4 on deck. I do want to start this video at some point. I haven't seen it yet. I've heard this narrative a lot recently. This, men under 30 or young men right now are struggling. And you want my take? Why it is? It's not it's not necessarily women, because a lot of it's like, oh, the women are pretentious. Oh, the women are going after 20% of the guys, and the rest of the guys are just they have no chance. I don't think it's that.
To be honest, like I think that's a lot of the narrative that's out there.
It's a huge narrative.
It's a huge narrative that I see.
It's a huge
Absolutely.
huge victim narrative.
Yeah.
It's like, so what are you gonna do with that, dude? So you're gonna cry? You're gonna 80% of I have no chance. It's like, actually, there's always a solution or opportunity. The guys that are lesser value or less likely, because if you went to high school, you went to college, or you've had, let's just say this, bud, your pack of 5-7 good buddies, right? You've had 5 or 7 good buddies. It's like the older you get, you kind of dissipate from that group, right? But you maybe in college or high school, right?
Right.
Out of those 5-7 buddies, there was one that was pulling more chicks easily,
Yeah.
right? Or 2. But there was one, and it's usually the buddy that's pretty good looking, right? Confident
Yeah.
because of that. But I remember a couple of friends that were really good with girls that I was kind of like, damn, like, I don't get it.
Right.
Just confident.
Right.
Just confident, didn't give a fuck,
Right.
had an edge, right? So it wasn't just one thing. And it certainly wasn't people just over 6 feet.
Definitely not.
That
Definitely.
narrative, where they're like, oh, yeah, Oh yeah, women like tall guys. Not all,
Mm-mm.
and it's certainly not a deal killer. I don't get that right now. It's like this narrative, and I've had clients that are like 5'5", 5'6", and they're like, "I'm short, man. I'm short." I'm like, "Where's this coming from? It's easier for you to lift weights, dude. You got shorter arms."
Right.
It's like all the short friends I've had, they're always buff. They're always kind of like, that's their answer. Like, let me get buffer right? Let me stack on a little weight.
Right.
All right, fine, man.
It's fine.
You're still gonna get on the rides on the roller coaster, bro.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that bad.
Right.
So it just gets me that this is huge, and people believe it. It's like all women look for guys over 6 foot. Who told you that?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, oh, women will be like, oh, I like guys that are 6. Fine. There's certain characteristics on women that I like, right? Courtney Ryan has a couple of them.
But they're not deal breakers.
No! I wouldn't say like, oh, God, it has to be this.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what, like, where's this? And it gets dropped all the time. Like, all the women just want guys over 6 feet. Who told you that?
It's just the narrative being pushed, I think,
right?
online
Like,
all the time like that, yeah.
Right? It's like, come on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just not true. And when I'm going back to this, friends that I had growing up that were good with women, I think 2 or 3 of them weren't over 6 foot. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And the dudes that were, over 6 foot that got women or whatever like that, their game wasn't better. They weren't better. They were just kind of naturally aloof or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I never had it planted in my head like, oh, my buddy's 6'2", so he gets women better. Never thought that.
Just automatically, like.
Did you?
No, never.
Never thought that.
No.
And then I'm 6 feet tall myself, 6 foot tall myself. Excuse me for the grammar.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never thought that was some huge advantage. Right. So I just these narratives that come out and then people are like, yeah, it's true. It's not. It's whatever you want to believe. You're just sabotaging yourself. But I've had friends that are 5'6", 5'7". They get women, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's get into the video. Let's take a look at what she has to say. I'll tell you after the video or in there what I think is the number one reason that more men probably under 30, and I will not submit to the fact a third of men under 30. That's impossible to scale. That's impossible to get the research. Mm-hmm. It's dramatic. These research and studies, they're never done by mass population. It's like 1,000 people, 10,000 people.
Usually like in the thousands.
And they never go a third of a research study done, and then tell me the demographics, tell me the people you're interviewing. You know what I mean? Like if you took an area that's primarily video game players or farmers.
Right.
It's like all that stuff counts.
Right.
All right, let's get to the video here.
New here, I'm Courtney Ryan, and today we're talking about a very interesting topic that definitely caught my attention, and that is that a third of men under 30 aren't having sex. I know this seems like a bit of a spicy topic for my channel, but I think it's really interesting when you look at the data and the research behind it and really getting into the nitty-gritty of why this is taking place. I'll be honest, my initial thought was, oh, it's all the incels or the people who, have never interacted with women and all of this, but it actually goes much further than that, and there's a lot of really interesting details that I wanted to share with you because it's not really what it seems to be. So I'm going to take you along with me as I look at some of these articles and we can just kind of go through it together. So let's get started. They're calling it the Great American Sex Drought, which I thought was kind of funny, but anyways. This article was really interesting from the New Yorker. It says, how everyone got so lonely. The recent decline in rates of sexual activity has been attributed variously to sexism, neoliberalism, and women's increased economic independence. How fair are those claims, and will we be saved by the advent of the sex robot? This was April 4th, 2022. It goes on to say stuff about the pandemic, how people were thinking this would increase sexual activity, but it actually did the opposite. Not so obvious is why, for several years before the virus appeared on our shores, we had already been showing distinct signs of sluggishness in the attraction and affiliation departments. In 2018, nearly a quarter of Americans, the highest number ever recorded, reported having no sex at all in the previous 12 months. Only 39% reported having intercourse once or more a week, a drop of 12 percentage points since 1996. The chief driver of this so-called sex drought is not as one might expect, the aging of the American population, but the ever more abstemious habits of the young. Since the 911, the Great American Sex Drought. One moment. Since the 1990s, the proportion of American high school students who are virgins has risen from 45% to 60%. People who are in their early 20s are estimated to be 2.5 times more likely to be sexually inactive than members of Gen X were at the same age. And basically it goes along to say that there are a bunch of different reasons why this is taking place. So I had made some notes about the most prominent ones that I was seeing across a ton of different articles. One thing that I saw a few times was low testosterone and how it's continuing to decrease in men as the years go by. I had seen some statistics about it. I can put a little graph in here to show you. But I think this is really interesting, and I think a lot of this has to do with products that we're using, food that we're consuming, chemicals in all of our stuff, plastic everywhere. I know I sound a little bit wacky saying that, and a couple years ago, if someone said that, I would have been like, okay. But it makes sense when you think about it and how it's continuing to decrease in men as the years go by. And on the flip side for women, I think birth control has really affected this as well. But this video is about men under 30 not having sex, so I will save that for a different video and I can kind of talk about my experience with birth control because it was terrible. But anyway, moving on. And the second thing I saw that I really didn't even think about until I saw in some of these articles was the decline of youthful marriage. So it says more people are ditching the traditional young marriage and waiting until they're older to tie the knot. There are more people in their 20s who don't have a live-in partner. So under those circumstances, I think less sex is obviously going to happen. Americans in their 30s and 40s and beyond, meanwhile, are much more likely to be married than those in their 20s. These age groups are now more likely to have sex in a given year than their younger peers. Increase in casual relationships, talking stages, etc. equals one-off hookups, random one-night stands, instead of that increased consistent intimacy, which I think is really interesting. But when we're talking about the decline of youthful marriage, it was very normal, 50 years ago for people to get married when they were 18, 20, 18 might be a little bit young, 20, 22. Now, out of all the people I know, it's a good 50-50 of who is married by this point in life and who is not. I'm 26.
Kind of an interesting, all the people I know.
Yeah.
What is that?
50%. Come on. But she makes some good points though, or in the article that she's reading, it makes some good points. So
Sorry about that. The mic was off this whole time, and I was thinking we were speaking into the mic. It wasn't connected, so that's why I was a little technical difficulties. We're back on deck with the mic finally. I was wondering what was going on here.
Okay.
So what's your take after that article?
So she definitely made some, or when she was reading it, made some good points. I think as a generation, I think they are staying younger for longer. She was saying that they got married in their early 20s more often 20, 30 years ago. Like my parents, I think my mom was 22, something like that. So it does make sense.
But to me, a third of men under 30 are not having sex. Does that correlate to not being married? So the question is, this is where generalizations come in. A third of men under 30 aren't having sex, meaning they don't have sex at all or just don't have less sex. What's the point of this study and where does it end that a guy that's having sex once a month, once every 2 months? Here's what I think. Here's my take. Porn, number one.
Yep.
So guys, it's safe. It's safe, number one.
Right.
Don't have to worry about any STDs, guys.
Right. So there is some advantage to it, to watching porn.
And it's free.
Social utility, yeah.
It's free. Sure. It's probably the most convenient, pleasurable thing an individual can be at the tips of your fingers, literally. Right?
Yep.
I've been to people's houses and there's a clean Xbox next to the computer, and I don't think it's for crying. Right? So you go through that, video games. I think that also just overall with the stimulation online, whether that's video games or social media or watching YouTube videos like this, it will take you out of the game more. And then if you're the longer you're out of the game, whether that's due to, online stimulation, let's just make it called that, right? The more apt you're not going to get back in the game.
Right.
Okay, so.
Or you feel less confident.
That's right. Well, I mean, look at it this way, right? So, for example, Exercise. How many times have you fell off the wagon and didn't exercise? I saw you during COVID, B.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right? You look like you were in Alaska fishing. You had a full neck beard.
Right.
Right? Mm-hmm. And I was like, Jesus, man. He's like, oh, I've just been ordering pizza, staying in. You got a kid.
I guarantee you I wasn't the only one. But
No,
Yeah.
You know.
Absolutely.
You're not taking that personal because you remember I saw you. I said, Jesus Christ. It's like Gordon's fish sticks, man.
Yeah.
This guy's been out, man.
Right.
Hasn't been out in a while, right? And then we went out for a hike. We hung out and you were gasping, right?
Right.
So my point to that is if you're out of the game for 5-6 months to a year, but then you got some crutches like porn, or if you're into like Instagram, some of these dudes like follow these girls in their bikinis and stuff like that, right?
I think those are, I think
Right.
that's becoming
I've had clients that are into OnlyFans. Like there's so many outlets, right?
Oh, yeah.
But the longer you go without actually doing the real thing, right?
Right.
And exercise is the same way. The longer you go without exercise, the more you're like, I don't want to get started today.
And when you get started again, it's like, oh, this is
Rusty, man.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think that's what happens. Like the longer without it, no, I don't need to do that. And they find other ways to fill that gap. So I would say you're absolutely correct. I'd say number one is porn and the acceptance of it.
Yeah.
It's never been more accepted. I think that, since I was a young kid, like, like my dad's buds or like my grandpa. When I say my grandpa, I mean like my step grandpa. It wasn't my blood.
Right. But you were close.
Right. There was always somewhere in a drawer somewhere a couple dirty magazines.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think my dad had a hairstylist or whatever that he went to, and there was a Playboy just hanging out there. It was just, yeah.
So there's, you know what I mean? And those, I don't think those, that was kind of a different part of it. But there was, now you have that full bore on video. I think that's the elephant in the room.
Right. Right.
And she was just mentioning, I think it's the food they're eating. You know what? A little bit. I mean,
yeah.
Give me a break. I think, like I said, I think it's that. Talking to guys that I know are out of the game for long periods of time. A lot of them are online warriors, dude. They eat shit and sleep online stuff. And when I say it could be video games, it could be YouTube videos.
Right.
There's people hooked on YouTube.
Right.
Like I had a friend before, you know him, research warrior. Fucking knows a little bit about everything, a lot about a lot of things. And anything that comes up, he can just recite it just from watching YouTube. He's an encyclopedia. Doesn't do a whole lot. I don't know how much he does with it.
Right.
Right. He could tell you about the stock market. He could tell you about umpteen things. It's
and they're probably not deep dives into them either. Probably just like surface level.
It's all video.
Stuff.
It's all video. Yeah. But doesn't get out too
Right.
much.
Right.
All right, let's get back to the video. We got 4 on deck. The sound's back. Sorry about that earlier. If you're still on, I appreciate it because the sound was wretched before. It's better now. Give me a thumbs up. All right, let's get back to this video real quick.
Just for reference, I'm engaged. I'm going to be married next year, so I'll be married technically at 27. I have a handful of friends who got married at like 23, 24, some 26, but I have a lot of friends who are my age and still single. Or they have a boyfriend or someone that they haven't really been dating that long. I have a friend who is like 31 or 32 and she's not married. So it's just very interesting to look at the difference and how people are waiting so much longer now to get married versus in the past. And I think it does have a lot to do with women's financial independence and women, making money and not necessarily relying on their husbands for income. And
keep in mind, once again, this is personal experience. I have a friend, I'm getting married at 27, and I think women do this. Translation, this is what I do. This is what happened in my life, so I think that this is what women do. This is not what all women do. So this is what I think all women are doing right now. It's like, show me the woman. And let me ask her a few questions, and I could get to the bottom of maybe why she's not married. Or why are things like that? But to say that all women are making different decisions for different reasons, I personally believe, being a breakup coach, being at ground zero with a lot of people, marriage is just not what it used to be. People aren't going to stick with it. There's a big propensity for people to want to get treated equally. I think in a lot of marriages, you probably don't want to hear this. There's some unequal treatment. Someone's making more money than the other person. Someone's got more leverage. Someone treat like the equal dynamics that are ideal for a lot of people in their thinking right now don't transpire in a long-term marriage. Look at someone that was in a long marriage and either the male or the female probably ran the show more. Right? And that could change. But I think now it's like, no. Or on the flip side, someone wants to be the one to run the show. And they're oblivious to it.
That's not maybe their role in the relationship.
Well, I mean, it's just not. Here's the thing. This is one of the biggest things I've learned in my own relationships now after doing coaching. It's like when you start to argue about something, what are you arguing about? And is it just about winning? Or is it fixing the fucking problem?
Just to win, just to be the winner.
And I think now with the ego and Instagram and a lot of these things, because everyone's a fucking expert on everything, right? This is why you have in relationships, right? I've witnessed this. Okay, so people diagnosing other people as narcissists last 5 years, 7 years, that's not good for relationships.
Probably not, no.
Okay? Oh, my partners, that you're looking for all these things that are flaws. You're looking for red flags, and you're not working through the relationship. So the people that have been married for 40, 50 years, which is going to be obsolete probably, to be quite frank, in my opinion. Okay? It can be done, but you probably are better off getting married mid-30s. And this is me being biased because at my age, I've never been married. Thought about it a few times, briefly. Glad I didn't. But the women I thought about doing it with, good women, good girlfriends, good partners. But to me, do you want to have kids?
Huge.
But I call marriage the love pension. It's a long game.
It's the long game for sure.
But I will tell you this: people that are together in their late 60s, 70s, and 80s, they're still bickering. They're still bickering. But I've also witnessed people that are alone in their 70s and 80s. That's tough, man. That's tough.
Like, it's better to have somebody to bicker with and...
Well, it's different for different people.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm just saying that's your payoff in the marriage. The marriage isn't about being equal. There's some, like I said, the person that makes more money, like there's some variables, right? So getting back to, she's getting married, she's 27. It would be interesting to ask her more questions about that, but it doesn't relate to this topic, a third of men under 30. So let's get back to it. I'm getting off the track here.
Being able to do it for themselves, and that being less of a factor as to why women get into marriages, solely just relying on someone for money. I don't think that's really as much of the case anymore, although it still is for some people. It's not as common. I see this conversation happening a lot on social media of like, you should wait until you're older to get married. Like, don't waste your 20s in a marriage. Wait until you're in your 30s, or wait until you're older and have fun in your 20s. And I think that's something that's being talked about a lot more now than it obviously was in the past. I mean, you see people posting on TikTok about it and just really all over the place. I think men in general feel as though they can wait a little bit longer, or wait until they're a little bit older to get married, because they're not really dealing with a fertility window. And I don't want to seem offensive by saying that, but that's just kind of the truth. They don't have to worry about that. So it makes sense as to why men feel as though they can wait a little bit longer to get married. But, as women have kind of taken on a more masculine role, they're kind of starting to adopt the male mindset when it comes to that as well, which I think is really interesting. Women are waiting until they're in their late 30s to have.
I think she's just talking about women she knows. I don't think this is of all women. This is a small sample size. I think culturally women are different. Living in a different country, there's, and this is where this women, men. Just whenever you hear that, ask yourself, does this apply to me?
Right. I think you're right about the different country thing. I think that's a huge part of it. Like, okay, maybe in the States, or in a certain area in the
okay,
States,
so let's unpack that really quick, right? So you live in another country also, like I do, right? Different culture, different style, different feminine, masculine, but there is some absolute things, like hypergamy is true and some of these other things. But America is a country of many cultures.
Absolutely. And
so when you just say like, oh, Americans, it's like, where?
Right. Where are you? Like you've said before, I think.
She's just talking about what her little circle
Specific little circle. Yeah.
Yeah, and she keeps referencing it. I think that, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Have kids now, and everything's just getting so pushed back and less rushed. And I think there are positives and negatives to that I won't totally get into today. But what I'm really trying to say here is that it makes sense when you look at it from this whole like young marriage perspective, because people just aren't getting married under 30 as much as they used to. People are waiting until they're a little bit older or even late 20s. But when you think about men specifically, they wait even longer than women and often are a little bit older than the women that they're with. So it makes sense when you think about it. But before I had read these articles, I really never thought about it that way. The next point here, which kind of involves hypergamy a bit, is the fact that more men are unemployed or maybe aren't making as much money as a lot of their female counterparts. So this says, for most of the past 3 decades, 20-something men and women reported similar rates of sexlessness, but that has changed in recent years. Since 2008, the share of men younger than 30 reporting no sex has nearly tripled to 28%. That's a much steeper increase than the 8 percentage point increase reported among their female peers. There are several potential explanations for this. Labor force participation among young men has fallen, particularly in the aftermath of the last recession. Researchers also see a connection between labor force participation and stable relationships, she said. The survey showed, for instance, that 54% of unemployed Americans didn't have a steady romantic partner, compared with 32% among the employed. This is obviously...
Where is this data from, dude?
Yeah, I want to see it.
Like, how do you even, what's funny about these surveys? Have you ever even come across a survey that asked you questions like this in America?
No. Where do you get these people? Like, where are they getting? I don't understand.
Well, I mean, there's a survey going around for unemployed people. First of
Right.
all, the unemployed people don't even want to fucking answer a survey. Right? Like, if you sent me a survey and I was unemployed in America and it's like, hey, we're just doing this survey to see if you haven't had sex, fuck you. Like, am I going to answer that?
Right.
Am I going to take time to check mark it, mail it back in? Or if this was done on the computer?
Who knows?
So 50%. So the way it's being illustrated, it's like 50% of all Americans. I bet if I was able to ask that question directly to her, she'd go, I don't know. Check your sources. It's
Is it people in New York? Who are you talking, or is it across the states? Like, what's going on? I want to see the,
and what, like I said, when you say aren't having sex, it means like they've never had sex
Right.
or they haven't had sex in a month. So like if they answer that question, are they like, yeah, I'm like, how is that even right? And then everyone goes, oh God, oh my God, a third of all men under 30 right now. All men are getting screwed right now. It's like, and then the guys that aren't having sex are like, see, the women are this.
I told you.
See, it's like, no, it's like, take a look in the mirror and look at your life as an individual, what you want. And then her idea of that women are making more than men right now. It's like, where does that apply? I've known men that make less money. It was in one of my comments recently that make less money, that end up with a woman that makes significantly more money.
Sure.
And they're married or together. Absolutely true. So that's not absolute. There's women that are doctors, lawyers, and have a husband that make less money. Now, she might get to make more of the decisions, like what house you're going to buy. She might be able to do that, but it's not that neat. And then there's someone that ends up with a struggling artist.
Right.
That's always attractive, right?
Right.
Someone said that in the comment. They're like, oh my God, I got a cousin. She makes the money, and her husband's literally the struggling artist. He's a guitarist, da-da-da-da.
That trope of...
Yeah, it's totally... Does that sound
absolutely.
outlandish? No.
No.
But this idea that the way this is being broke down is just fragmented.
In absolutes, I think, like you said, they're almost like, this is
Well,
the way it is.
I think, and like, I'm getting married at 27.
Right.
Okay.
Nothing new. This is a topic that has been discussed a lot, especially here on YouTube. We've talked about hypergamy before, and the fact that even though now women are making more money and are more successful in the workforce, they still tend to go for men who are either at their level or still above them. So this is no surprise. I was not surprised to see the 54% of unemployed men are not in relationships or don't have a romantic partner. that just goes back to what women are attracted to and what women look for. And a lot of the time, unemployed men are not kind of in that equation. And again, I don't say that to be hurtful. I just say that looking at these statistics. So that one was more obvious to me as a reason why a third of men under 30 are not having sex, because a lot of men in this age demographic are unemployed. And that leads me into my next point here, which is that more young people than ever are still living with their parents. So this says, young men are also more likely to be living with their parents than young women. In 2014, for instance, 35% of men ages 18 to 34 were living in their parents' homes, compared with 29% of women in that age group. At the risk of, this is funny, it says, at the risk of stating the obvious, when you're living at home, it's probably harder to bring sexual partners into your bedroom. So obviously when it comes to bringing people home, maybe men feel embarrassed to bring people home if they're still living with their parents. I've had a lot of men reach out to me and say, hey, I still live at home, I'm 24, should I even bother getting a girlfriend? Taking an even deeper look at this than just, bringing people home to your parents' house, a lot of women, like I said before, tend to go for men who are either at their level or above. And of course, there are women out there that don't care. I think when you're young and you're trying to save money, or you don't really.
This one's absolutely true.
Absolutely.
So Courtney, you kind of nailed this one. I don't know if you did it on purpose or not, but living at home with your parents, I understand why, first and foremost, because America, especially in major cities, is absolutely atrociously expensive. So it's not just like negligence from a guy, because it's expensive. It doesn't make sense for a lot of people.
But it's like you said, like where people are living, like if it's in New York or San Francisco or something like that, you're right. It's
that being said, there should be a finish line.
Sure.
So like it shouldn't be something that the problem is some guys and women, but guys are more likely to have this happen because women tend to get married. Well, I shouldn't generalize on that one, but guys I know that end up like this, they never have a finish line. They get really comfortable, and then they just never move out.
Right.
They just never move out, and they just accept it. Now, some of these guys can get girlfriends, okay? Like, it can be accepted. Their girlfriends usually live at home with their parents, too. I've seen this before in breakup coaching. It's usually like a similar dynamic. Now, if that guy is living at home and he's really good looking, he has a better chance.
I think that probably has a better chance of
Right,
working out.
he's an
Sure.
athlete.
Yeah.
If he's living at home with a finish line, like he's working to go to the Olympics, he's fucking right. He's working on an internet company. There's some kind of
saving money and doing whatever.
Yeah, if he's just sitting at home smoking weed, playing video games, riding his bicycle around town, having a beer in the afternoon, no, he's probably going to end up with the bartender. Now, some of those guys, they still get women.
Even the guys playing video games all day and doing
Oh, the
stuff,
video game one's tough because I think that just
that's
I think that eats testosterone too.
Yeah.
I think it does.
Well, I mean, you're not like moving. You're
yeah,
not,
that one's one of the worst.
Yeah.
For that. Now, going back to this though, living at home, which is going to be more and more prevalent just because of inflation, just because of the cost of things, it's absolutely true.
Sure.
Now, I've had clients like this before. I had a client, I remember years back, he was in New Jersey. Great guy, had a great job. He was a teacher. I had a lot of respect for him because he's a history teacher. This is what I went to school for. So, we're talking. He lived at home with he was like 25, 26, full-time teacher. And he's like, he had lived with his parents. She had lived with her parents, right? And they were together like 2 or 3 years. And he's like, yeah, sometimes like her parents love me, but sometimes it's hard to go in the back room and she doesn't want to like get intimate. I'm like, dude, her parents are in the living room, right? And I'm like, that's understandable. So we're talking, they ended up breaking up. And he was like, we were talking about getting our own place together. I'm like, that's definitely something that you guys want to work towards if you're both living at home and you bought full-time jobs out of college, right? Like, that's a big deal. Here's what got me, though. He's like, dude, I'm going to the fucking Eagles game in Philadelphia this weekend. That's expensive-ass trip, right?
Yeah.
Football tickets, NFL tickets are like, I don't know, 100, 200 going. It's like $1,000 weekend, I think, right? Give or take. He's going on and on. Then he's like, I'm going here next week. I'm going there next week. I'm like, you live at home and you spend, like, where do you have all this money if you live at home? Oh, dude, I have like 50 grand in the bank. I'm like, and you're not going to get a fucking apartment?
Right.
Well, dude, like, no. What happened is he likes living at home. He likes his parents. Some people like
It's comfortable.
Some people like their parents. Parents probably I have a few friends. Their parents have really nice houses.
Right.
Fucking
You could
guest
be
house in the
close with
back.
them.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
just-
So he's comfortable.
Understandable.
But here's the problem: the girlfriend still don't like.
Nah.
You'd be better off getting a studio apartment where you guys can hook up whenever you want,
1,000%.
right?
Yeah.
So like the living at home thing, yeah, that does affect things. That one, 100%.
Yep.
The answer to that, and some guys don't like it. I'm like, well, get roommates, because if you have roommates, they don't always work out. The older you get, like if you're in your 30s, roommates are more difficult because you're more set in your ways. You're in your 20s, you can do roommates, but that helps. The girlfriend's not going to look as much, and make sure your roommates have like similar goals, have their shit together, because that'll actually help you.
Right.
But that's the alternative to like, I can't get my own place. No problem. Then look online for especially major cities, like roommates that are professionals that have an extra room. It's better than staying at your parents' house, right? But what I've noticed about this one, clients that date men that live with their parents that are females, they live with their parents.
So it's just like a commonality.
But the woman usually is like, I want to move out. I want to move out. And the guy,
she's focused on
and this comes down to like individual situations.
Right.
If you live in like New York or
Right.
San Francisco where it's extremely insanely expensive, and you're like, yeah, we can get our own place, but it'll be in a ghetto location in a shithole, and mom's house is pretty nice in a great location. They just can't. Right? It's like, but then you get comfortable and you're like, dude, I can go to that Eagles game on the weekend. Like, you don't have that free time money in lieu of having a place. A lot of people don't want that trade-off.
Right.
Right? So the other answer would be get a hotel on the weekends. Not something I've done a lot of times, but I know a lot of people that do that now.
A little getaway, something.
When I was back in the Bay Area, friends of mine that were living at home or relatives, they would get hotel rooms or small getaways. I was like, that's a good alternative
It is.
than just rotting.
Right.
All right, let's get back to this and see if we can finish it off. There's about 5 minutes left.
You have a job where you can support yourself yet, especially as expensive as things are nowadays. It's very normal to live at home with your parents when you're young. Like, that's nothing to be embarrassed or ashamed about. Of course, maybe you should be working to a goal to eventually be able to support yourself and move out. But when you're in your early 20s, that's a very normal thing these days compared to, again, before, when more people were getting married younger. They were moving out on their own with their wives and living together versus, being 24, unmarried, and still living at home the way things are now. So things are just very different. The dynamic is incredibly different. But as this states, more men are living at home with their parents than women are. So when you think about a woman who is going for someone at her level or above, maybe that includes a man who is living out on his own or is successful on his own or has his own apartment or house or whatever it is. Of course, that's not always the case. I don't want to make it seem like if you live at home with your parents, you're doomed. When I actually met my fiance, he was still living at home. I was in college. He was like 23 or 24. So it's very normal to be in your early 20s and still living at home. And I didn't ever think anything of it. But all of these things kind of tie in together. The unemployed, the living at home with your parents. I mean, it's kind of a common theme here. But the last thing I'm going to talk about is technology and porn. So this says, now, people hide behind their iPhones, meet via dating app profiles, busy themselves behind computer games, and so forth. Virtual meetings have replaced in-person interactions. Pornography is the internet's most popular go-to. For many, sex is less an interpersonal relationship, no matter how shallow, and more an act in which the partner, if he or she exists, is a fantasy appendage. We are more into ourselves, into others less. Is it really such a surprise that sex is on the decline? Nope. This also says, one final factor that may be affecting American sexual habits at all ages is technology. There are a lot more things to do at 10 o'clock at night right now than there were 20 years ago. Streaming video, social media, console games, everything else, including porn. That may speak to the drop-off among the sexually active. The share of people who are having relations once a week or more now sits at 39%, compared with 51% in 1996. As our interactions and meeting people increase more.
Yeah, I didn't need stats for this.
Yeah. When you asked me before, I'm not sure if it
I just went blank when it was like, and according to 35 or 45%, it's like, according to these stats, look, porn, social media, YouTube, being online, being distracted and addicted to the screen, absolutely has affected sex lives of men. Across the board. Do we need stats for that?
Like when you asked me before, that was the first thing that came to my mind was porn, technology, that kind of stuff.
That's what I would say. Yeah, I would say that, and it's so funny because I've had like I said, I've had clients like, hey, I'm going to tell you the truth. I just finally gave up porn. Or I really, it's like, it's fine, dude. It's like, it's not nothing shameful or anything, but you got to get out in front of it. You don't want to make that 10 years of like, you're one of these guys that like just watched every porn 50 times and knows every, every girl's name and all that other shit. I remember Howard Stern used to have these guys on that could
were just like, oh, this is my favorite girl, and all
they
this
knew
stuff.
like background on all of them, and so I was like, Jesus, man, right? But absolutely, I would say that number one would be porn, number two would be social media addiction. I'd say video games are number three. I just don't relate to it. She keeps referencing herself because that's what people do. Like, oh, it's normal. Oh, this is normal. This is what I did. This is what I did. So it's normal because it's what you did. Just always keep this in mind about the level of objectivity people have sometimes when they keep referencing them. When I was in college and my boyfriend he was living with his parents, so it's normal.
Yeah. When you're highly specific, situation.
And he ended up being my fiance, and he was living at home, and it's like, all right, here's where fucking details count. So when he was living with his parents, what were his parents' demographic? Were they rich? Were they well off? Were they poor? Did he have a nice? There's a couple clients I have right now that live at home, but they look like they have their own fucking apartment with hardwood floors. You know what I mean? It's like they're not like in a little fucking garage room or something. It's like, so I'd like to know what was his lifestyle like living at home? Just curious. Would that make a difference if your boyfriend lived at home but he was rich? Not saying that's true, but it just gives more to the story.
Let's add some context in there. What's going on?
Yeah, the details count.
They do.
The fucking details count. It's like, yeah, he was living at home. It's like, oh, if he was living in a two bedroom in a bad area next to a crack den, would you be like, oh, it's okay, he's living at home?
Right.
Virtually and online versus in person, you can imagine that there also will be a decrease in sexual activity among people because a lot of people can't even meet someone online. There's a ton of men out there that can't even get a match on a dating app. So how the heck are they supposed to meet people? And now if you approach someone in public, they freak out and post a video online trying to publicly humiliate you. If you didn't see the Entitled Gym Girl video I posted recently, I went into detail about what this looks like for the future of dating. Are people going to stop, meeting in person or approaching altogether because of the way things are online? I mean, it's really just interesting to think about the future of dating and where things are going to go.
I'll tell you this, don't be a fucking victim. Don't go, oh, all dating right now, all dating apps are horrible, and only, according to stats and according to men, 80% of men don't even get looked at. So you're going to accept that? Like, so you're just going to give up because someone on the internet said that's true? Or there was a YouTube video made where some dude got publicly rejected? Like, oh my God, that's going to kill all my chances. I better just give up and join Red Pill. Right? I mean, come on. Like, yeah, according to a video I saw, one video, it's like, a client of mine recently, he's 22, he's in college, right? He's telling me like, yeah, I approached this one girl, I got rejected. And I'm like, good. How you handle rejection is actually really attractive to women, right? So, like, the rejection's been going on since the beginning of time, not necessarily with a video camera, and I agree with this. It's totally outlandish that you're going to make a fool out of someone for fucking asking you out. It actually makes you look like a piece of shit.
For views, like...
Whatever it is.
No, I mean,
but there's a whole subculture, and that's what it is. It's a subculture. It's not all women. It's not all men. It's a subculture group that's highly pretentious, right? That is highly judgmental. Spectators. There's snipers in the arena, throwing out comments and things like that, thinking they're funny, right? And all the while, they're completely insecure about themselves.
And they're the loudest, people, the most, commenting people.
Oh, dude, I just had a comment on one of my things. I don't get a lot of negative comments on my videos. And the guy's like, bro, you're 38, you look poor, and you're overly confident. It's like, what? So,
yeah.
Right? So, let me just ask you this. What are you worth, bud? Have you know what I mean? Like, where do you get the poor thing? Number two, overly confident. Does that mean that You're not confident? I mean, what are you looking for in people, right? It's like, what's the intention of making these comments? Going back to this topic, though, right? This is a perfect example, though. Oh, men are getting rejected more. There's dating app issues. It's like, don't accept it. Be the person that it's like, you know what? I'm not going to let that hold me back. I'm going to meet someone.
Right.
But what people don't get, I keep saying this. So if dating apps don't work for you, you don't like them. If cold approaches don't work for you, you don't like them. What are the alternatives? Oh, there's nothing else I can do. No.
Change your environment where you're going to
Fucking move.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Or keep asking them out. Try a new dating app. Oh, I don't like dating apps. There's 100 of them. I don't know them all.
Yeah.
Right? There's 100 flavors of them. So
gotta
I
be.
told clients before, oh, I hate Tinder. Well, have you seen some of the other ones like Bumble? Someone else told me about one that's a client. He got married through one. I forgot what it was called. It was something where they associated Facebook friends. So like they could connect who you know.
Right.
Like through a chain.
Wow. That's okay.
And it was like
They'll match you
6
through that
degrees
way.
of separation
Right,
kind of a
right.
thing. I
Interesting.
thought that's it. That's different.
They
okay.
They have Christian ones that I've seen,
Get more
advertised.
specific. So
Yeah.
quit complaining.
Right.
And then the videos on it feeds all these people that are like, oh yeah, I have no chance. I have no chance. Yeah, because that's what you believe. Right. Has the game changed? Yeah. Has it got more difficult? Until you figure it out.
Right, right. I like what you said before though, like go on bad dates. Like get out there and just do it.
And then tell your friends the stories.
Right.
And it's fun.
Right.
Like some of my funniest stories
there.
about dating are the bad ones.
Right,
It's
right.
like, oh my God. Some of the things I look back on some of the dates, and I didn't even date that much because most of the time I've had a girlfriend. But I mean, this. Hey, Courtney, 80%. Like, where do you even get the 80%? This big. That's another one, right?
Right.
So you're screwed if you're not 6 feet or taller. Like you're just erased, according to internet videos.
Don't even try.
80% of all apps, the guys don't even get swiped. They don't even get views. I don't buy that. But on the flip side, it's like, what's the app? What's your profile like? What are you looking for? What, like as the dude, are you? Some of the dudes, I'll be honest, like they're looking for women that are out of their league too. Because they watch porn and they're like, I want one of those. A lot of my younger clients that are like in their 20s, one of the things like, hot or not hot, that's what they, she has to be extremely hot, or they're like, dude, I dated her, she's not that hot though. Or when they break up, it's like, I don't know if I can get another girl as hot as her. And it's like,
that's the most important thing that you're looking for.
looks
Like,
count.
Oh,
Looks
absolutely.
count to me.
Attraction,
I want to be
yeah.
attracted.
Right.
But the idea that I need someone that's extremely hot is never on point. Like,
Right.
like a girl that's cute is enough.
Like that's your filter is, oh, she's got to be extremely hot. That's your filter.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
it's
like-
just a bad filter.
Like if you're going to do this 1 to 10 thing, which
Right.
1 to 10 is your 1 to 10. It's like everyone goes, oh, she's a 10, according to you.
Subjective. Yeah.
According to you. But on my own list, if a woman's like a 6 or a 7 the first time you meet on an attraction scale for me, doesn't mean it's like, oh my God, right?
Right.
But I have to think she's like, I've had a client a while back, he's like, she's really nice, she's this, but I'm just not that attracted. I'm like, well, what's your attraction on one take? It's like a 4? I'm like, it's done. Like it's going to be really difficult for you. It sounds like you're giving her pity.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like 4, 6, 7, you can work on that. Attraction gets higher. Someone can get more attractive over time. They can grow on you. But a 4, 3 in your eyes, very tough. So there's something that's a turnoff there for you. And it's better when people date. When you go on Tinder or one of these things, the number one thing you need to do is meet in person, because the attraction level in person is different.
Oh, yeah.
And when you meet someone in person, you just know. And there's nothing rude about that. There's nothing, like if someone just, after they meet you for the first time, kind of ghosts you or doesn't talk to you after, they're just not interested or probably attracted to you.
Right.
Don't fucking take it personal.
Some people do take it really personal. Like,
Don't take it personal, because
Right.
every person has been on both sides if they
that's what
dated enough.
I was just thinking the exact same thing. Like someone's been, you've been doing the same thing.
Everyone.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you've dated enough,
Right.
and I've had clients like this, she just didn't call me, especially men. Like, she didn't call me. I thought we had 2 great dates. I'm like, well, she's on Tinder. She's probably dating other guys. You think so? Like, why would she just not call me? They think they made a wrong move.
Right. When it's not there.
They
dude.
think they said something wrong.
Right.
And they think, well, how can I make this right? Just not interested, bad timing, her dog died, she's
Whatever.
on her period,
Right.
whatever. There's a bunch of different things. Just let it go. What I mean, why would? So then you go to another case where you're on the other end. You go on a date. You're a gentleman, or you have fun, or you just have fun, right? And you're like, afterwards, I'm just not that attracted to her.
Just not.
So why lie?
Right.
So what you do is you probably don't call her either. And now you're on the other end. You're like, I feel really bad. Guys have told me I kind of feel bad, but I'm like, see. But what do? The right thing to do is to let someone go that you're not that interested in.
Right.
And the only thing is, people are so dense because they think I'm so interested. I think it went really well because I want to believe that because I'm so attracted to them. Why don't they feel the same?
Why isn't it the exact same as how I feel? Right.
That's the whole problem with the dating now. It's like, I'm worth something.
Right.
I love myself. It's like, don't take it so personal.
Right.
It's fine. You know how many people like you, and I remember when I used to work in a mall, like you'd meet people all the time, right? It's like when I was a kid, like 20 plus years ago, working in a mall, you meet women all the time. Some of the most attractive women, you get to know them in 10, 15 minutes. It's like, oh my God. You know, every other, like, oh my God, like.
Yeah, especially where we're from. Yeah. Yeah.
It's not a given. All right, let's get back into this.
But it's interesting, but also not surprising to me that a third of men under 30 aren't having sex. So I really just wanted to share these statistics with you and this data and, kind of just look at why this is happening. There are clearly a lot of reasons as to why this is happening. And when you really take a minute to think about it, it makes complete sense. And it's much more than just, people are sitting behind their screens. There's a ton of other reasons as well. But I do think a lot of it has to do with the rise of social media and just how much less we interact with people in person. And even now, a lot of people are working from home. They aren't even meeting people at work or out and about. A lot of people are able to do everything from the comfort of their own home. So just an interesting thought. I would love to hear what you guys think down below. If you think there are any other reasons that I didn't talk about today as to why a third of men under 30 aren't having sex, please let me know down in the comments. I would love to get an interesting conversation going down below. But if you like this video or found it helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel to be in the loop for when I release new content. If you haven't already, be sure to follow me over on Instagram at Courtney Christine Ryan. I love connecting with all of you guys over on there as well.
All right, so what do you guys think? Do you think that a third of men under 30 are sexless right now, that are not having sex? What do you guys think? What do you think the main reason is? Like I said, I would say porn, video games, online addictions, absolutely true.
Social media as an encompassing, yeah.
I would say that's absolutely true. But what's interesting about this is, if a third of men are like this, why wouldn't the women be similar? Because the women are, all right, so like the pool of men is smaller, which they're saying, right?
Right.
So the guys at the top of the food chain,
Right.
the chads.
The chads that are out there.
I hate that term. It's like someone just invented that term. I have a cousin named Chad, and he's like 6'2" also.
So he fits the
Yeah,
profile.
yeah, he's athletic and everything.
Right.
He's got fucking tattoos,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Married though, but it's so funny because you relate it to like someone you know. But so they're saying like all these dudes are just cleaning. They're just creaming off the top because of dating apps and pictures and those things. Haven't they always?
In different ways, I guess. But yeah.
So the guys that are at the bottom, because the guys at the bottom that are the scrubs, if we're gonna go TLC old school here,
Right.
the guys at the bottom, they just don't have a chance. Because that's in there. One narrative is these guys don't have a chance anyways. So why
try?
Why try?
Yeah.
Dating apps are skewed. So why try? Women are more masculine and harder to deal with. That one in certain demographics is absolutely true. There's a lot of truth to that. You can change your demographic. Or here's the thing: some men are more feminine and accepting of that than ever before. There's guys that like women that wear the pants, that make the choices, and that's fine by me. Doesn't bother me any.
So when you talk to people about this in your coaching and stuff, do you recommend that you filter for that? Like you try to find someone compatible that, if like if you're a guy that's more feminine, like should you try, to find a role that's, some girl that's, more
I don't
masculine?
tell them to I don't tell them to filter for what I would go for.
Right.
I try to learn what I don't try. I learn about them through questions, and then accept where they're at or who they're with based on that.
Okay.
So if they're complaining about certain things, I won't just go, "Oh, you're being a beta male."
Right. Like you fit this one profile, and that's
like you need to mount up. It's like, no, we just need to talk more about what you're accepting in this relationship.
Sure.
And the problem with that's a really good question, B. It's like the problem is you're making it a forest before the trees problem. So when you go into like you're not masculine enough, that's like a huge arena.
Sure.
Where when you come to me for a breakup, let's talk about your breakup. Because there's guys that I've talked to before that would be guys that aren't going to pull a lot of women. So they're highly devout to their girlfriends, and like when they break up, it's going to be really tough on them.
Right.
Because they don't have a lot of options. And they
scared.
fucking know it.
People are scared to be
living
alone.
at home or don't have a great job or whatever.
Sure.
But they met this girl somehow and they've killed attraction doing the wrong moves. I'm not going to go, "Oh, you fucked up, man. You made the wrong move." Or you need read Rational Male, read this. No. It's like, all right, what happened?
Right.
Because first of all, you need to like, what happened in this relationship? How are you feeling about it? You need to be listened to. You're hurt. You don't need to be told like, "Oh, you need to become more masculine and have game." That's not going to happen anytime soon. And that's not always the answer for every guy. So I want them to come to the conclusions on their own by asking good questions and going down different rabbit holes. But I would say that certain things that I don't accept, I'm totally fine with them accepting.
Right.
Like a long distance relationship, a client of mine, I kind of knew it wasn't going to be a good thing. They went into a long distance relationship for like a year during COVID, different countries. But I didn't go, "Hey man, this is the wrong move." I'm like, all right, it can work for some people. Just make sure you see each other at some point. It ended up not working out. But he was a classic case of, it was his first girlfriend in a long time. They had a good connection. There was a lot of variables there. It was worth trying for him.
Sure.
The odds were probably against it, but it was worth trying for him.
For him,
And,
for his specific situation.
The woman that he dated, of course, this is the hardest part. You'll notice a lot of this when I do these reaction videos. A lot of people keep referencing their own stuff. I do it too in videos.
I think it's just.
But when I'm talking to someone in a coaching situation, I might reference or be anecdotal, but I certainly wouldn't just say that this woman or this man's bad for you because I don't like them. I need to ask you questions for you to come to that conclusion. Let's look at, actually, I told you this before. Let's take a look at some of these questions from that video, B. Sloan Magnum, but I've seen some wimpy, simpy dudes have long-term girlfriends and even married, so that is a thing.
Yeah.
It can be done. It comes down to compatibility. Them, absolutely. I've said this before.
Yeah.
And you know what?
100%.
Why would that bother me?
Right.
I wouldn't go around going, "Oh, that guy's a beta or he's a simp."
You're right.
Actually, I'm like, "Damn, dude, that guy takes a lot of shit." And you know what? The woman he's with is, like, I wouldn't want to be with her. That's how I look at it. But you know what? Some guys operate like that. Happy wife, happy life. That phrase makes me cringe, but some guys live by it.
Right.
And you know what? They pay for it. Just don't complain about it later on. Like, "Oh, she treats me like this." Just ran into someone recently. They're like, "Oh, certain culture of women they're so demanding. They're so this." It's like, well, that's what you settled for. Early on in your relationships, if I could teach one thing, it's like set your boundaries for who you are and what you want. That's the best thing to do. Is like, what do you want? It's like
really think about it. Like really,
you got to really think about it. But when you're getting pushed around in the beginning of the relationship and you just give in and become pussified, you're just setting the tone for the rest of the relationship.
You're cementing it.
And what a lot of guys do, to be honest, most guys have like a simple mindset. It's like, can we just make up so we can hook up later?
Right.
So we can just sleep together.
Sex or whatever. Yeah.
A lot of guys are just like, it's like the fight's not worth it to me. It's petty. It's stupid. It's emotional. It's like, I don't want to listen to it a lot. You know what I mean? So they'll just be like, all right, you win. Instead of thinking like, listen, I agree with this. I don't agree with that. You got to set that in line or else you're going to deal with it all the time. But there's plenty of guys like you're saying simpy, wimpy dudes. I wouldn't even call them. That's just the way they do relationships. And you know what? They fucking learned it from someone. So This is a great line for you guys. Don't blame people for who they are. You don't know how they got there. And when you know, like doing my work now, being a teacher for years, where kids come up to you after class at the university level, tell you about their problems, people are way more intricate than you think. But I've had students, I'm like, God, this kid's a little jerk. Then you get to know him. It's like dad left when he was 5,
Right.
mom was abused.
Right.
Da-da-da. It's like, these aren't made up stories. And then you're like, oh shit, I have a little bit of compassion for this individual. Every human being has a trail of stories. And in life experiences, you have no clue and no idea of what it went through to get there. So when you meet a jerk or you meet a pushover or you meet a beta male, they didn't get there because they were like, hey, I want to be a beta male. They learn that shit. And the thing is, most of the stuff out there is like, just get over it. It's like, it's not that easy. It's programmed.
Like Jocko said.
Yeah, it's programmed, but it's absolutely programmed into your thing, into your culture. So, or who you are. So when you have people acting this way, don't think that, oh man, this person, you don't know how they got there. Right. And you know what? If there's some kind of beta, I hate that term, right? Or this guy's a doormat with his wife. You know what? Good for you. Maybe he loves being in that situation. Loves doing the dishes.
Right.
Oh man, I always do my own laundry. Good for you. I don't.
But if he's sitting there and that's the dynamic of the
it's great.
But if he's unhappy with that, then there's
Don't
a problem.
complain.
No, but don't. But if he's unhappy with that situation, like whatever, doing the dishes or
here's the difference in relationships now in this feminine, masculine thing, men and women. There's so much fucking information out there, right? There used to be a really concise code of conduct for individual people in tribes. People were more tribe and village based. Even Europeans were more village based, right? And it was usually following some kind of religion, some set of rules, and everyone followed the same set of rules within that culture,
same mindset,
within that tribe, and you just knew where you stood.
Yeah.
People that are military, when they come out of the military, they're always like, I miss being in the military because all the rules and the code of conduct, like everyone follows the rules. No one cuts the line. Go to the airport. Go to an international airport. B knows what I'm talking about. There's people that just don't follow any fucking rules.
No.
They just cut the line, certain cultures.
Sure.
And you're like, what is this? Like, what did I miss?
Right.
There's a certain age where you're like, everyone waits in line, okay? We're not in school anymore where someone cuts because they're cool. But there's people they'll cut the line at the airport. You know what I'm talking about, B.
100%.
And this is, like I said, go to an international airport, you'll be appalled. Like, what is this? They do it. Oh, hold on. I need to get. It's like, excuse me, the line's back there. Doesn't everyone follow that rule in the world? It's like
pretty
green light, red light. Don't we all follow that rule? Not everyone. Shocks me. Oh, I'm going to go through the red light. Why would you go through a fucking red light, dude? That's like one of those rules that's a good one, right? It's like when you're in relationships, you don't realize it, but you have a set of rules. Now, here's the thing. When you're in the relationships now, you got all these things. Oh, a third of men under 30 don't have sex. It's like, huh? That gets in people's head, and they're like, oh, yeah, it must be the women's fault. Oh, yeah, it must be because of video games. Does it apply to me? Is that something I want to accept?
Sure.
How does that information help or hurt me? It's like, hey, this is really interesting. I'll be honest. When I read something like this, I'm like, doesn't interest me very much. Why are we talking about this? This is why I want, like, these are the things that come up, and then people identify with them. My point is, everyone's creating their own code of conduct in their relationships, and it's contradicting a lot. Right? Well, I read this. Well, I saw this on YouTube. I saw that. And it's like no one can decide what's the rule. And everyone's like, I want to be more equal. Well, good luck with that in a relationship.
Good luck.
Sloan Magnum says, I come from a masculine, manly environment. Men are men, women are women. Just how I am. I throw beta and simp around because I grew up around that. I don't hate on them. It's just how I talk. I don't think that, Sloan. I didn't mean it that way if it came off that way. I'm just saying for me personally, I just don't, people throw that around a lot. Oh, this guy's a beta, or this is.
Yeah, like in the red pill community.
Yeah, it's just, I grew up, my father's a Marine, Vietnam vet,
Drove a
truck driver. My dad's pretty masculine, dude.
Yeah.
I grew up around, you know what I mean?
The stereotypical.
Yeah. Mom's very feminine. So I grew up in an environment like that. But
Same with me. Dad was a cop. Mom, worked in an
yeah,
office. So
yeah.
it's like,
So, but I won't just discount. I just won't discount someone on that.
Sure.
I just think that's thrown around a lot. And if some guy's softer, because there's some guys out there that are ball players, 6'3", big guys, and they're big softies with their wife. But you know what? It goes over bigger because they're, they're Navy SEALs or something like that, right? So they can have the bigger contrast.
Right.
But if you're getting the result in your relationship and the guy's like, happy wife, happy life, oh, I love my wife, oh, I have to go get her, I have to go do this for her, I have to go run errands for her, ha, 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 this is just what we do. Not me, but if you want to do that, it's totally fine, whatever makes you happy. Just don't complain about it later on. I find it not really nice to bring up topics like alpha, beta, masculine, feminine, or names calling in a conversation with people might be triggering anyone. It's not about triggering anyone. I'm not scared to have that conversation. If someone brings it up, it's like if someone was like, oh, you're beta. So, all right, well, tell me where that comes from. Elaborate. Whenever someone brings up something broad or general, ask them to elaborate.
Yeah, what is your definition of alpha, beta?
Always.
Yeah.
Masculine, feminine. So so there's some basic things in masculine and feminine. Absolutely true. So like, what's your definition of that? That's not you trying to be a jerk. It's you trying to learn more of their perspective. There's a difference. Like when you really elevate, you get into an enlightened place, all you do is try to understand people better than try to correct them. And then you can agree to disagree at a certain level. But the whole idea, I'm going to teach you this, I'm going to teach you that, all you're doing is imposing. And I'd say like a lot of what's out there is imposing. This is what I think. Well, when I was, in college, my boyfriend lived at home and we ended up getting married. So when he lived at home, what were the details of that? What kind of can you give me some more details to that? What was he majoring in? Right. Was he able to pay for dinner for you still? It's like you just say that.
Right.
Eve had asked earlier, I just want to touch on this. She had asked, how about when women still living at home? What do you guys take on those same age? I would say that it's individually based.
Right. How old is this? Is she in her early 20? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, what's the situation? Right? Yeah. Again, get back to this, because living in a different country, I totally understand different cultures. There's certain cultures where you take care of your parents. A lot of Asian culture,
Absolutely.
I think, I believe Indian families, it's just built in.
And we saw this back in the States too,
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So if you understand that, it's not necessarily someone just being lazy and living at home off the parents. They actually feel indebted to take care of the parents.
Just culturally.
It's just a culture thing. So if that's one part of it. Number two, like I said before, what's your grand plan? Are you getting comfortable, or do you have a plan do you want to move out? Or are you waiting for a man? Are you waiting for a man to sweep you off your feet, marry you, and take you out of the house? Now, here's the thing. The older you get as a woman, I think it's gonna be harder. I think it's less of a deal for men than it is for women dating men. I think that's true.
Well, I think she was talking about that a little bit in her video.
But it counts how old you are and what your progress is. Sure. When you get into your 30s and you've been living at home for like 7-8 years, you got to ask yourself, why am I really living at home? Am I doing it because someone in my family's sick and I need to take care of them? Okay, that's admirable. Right. Am I doing it because I need to save money and I just can't make enough right now? Okay. Are you eventually going to do you want to move out? So are you spending, this is a big one. Are you spending all your extra money on frivolous things rather than saving up to move out? Because I've had a client like this before. I'm like, I want to move out. I'm like, this weekend, go look at apartments. Well, I don't know what I can afford. Go look at apartments. Right. Plant the seed. Right. So if you go look at apartments, you can start realizing, oh, this one's nice. Oh, I could afford this. So then you got a finish line. Now, that's why I'm saying individually, know who you are. Now, if you live at home, man or woman, you go to the gym every day, you look your best, you're in a good mood, because you don't always have to have the best job. But here's what I would say. helps when you like your job.
Yeah.
That's underrated. So if you're going to get a job where you don't make a lot of money, and this is the big status thing in America, it's like money, money, money.
Yeah,
It's understandable because America is expensive, right? It's survival. But if you're going to go the other route, don't work at 7-Eleven and be miserable. Work at a preschool where you're like, I just love the kids.
Right. If that's what you're
Right? Like do something where I just saw on Instagram today, I'm going to say his name wrong, but you know his name, be Shia LaBeouf.
Oh, Shia LaBeouf?
Shia LaBeouf. What a weird name.
The actor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, he was on Instagram, and I know he's been through a bunch of shit this year.
Oh, yeah. Well,
he got in a lot of trouble, right?
I watched a video, a podcast with John Bernthal or something like that.
Is that the guy with the
Walking Dead
hat?
actor? Yeah. And it was a pretty interesting little clip interview that I saw. But yeah, it sounds like he's gone through some stuff. So, and there was some like even a few years ago, I think there was some stuff that he was doing like online, and I don't know, it was a little out there.
Well, I was almost going to pull it up. It was just a clip that was on Instagram. And he was saying that he realized what God was, right? And I'm like, all right,
That kind of was the same like theme of like the interview that I saw. It might even be the same thing. I don't know.
It was. I'm just trying to find it here because it was only 3 minutes. And it was, and I'm not highly religious. I'm highly spiritual at this point in my life. But
actually, that might be a good clip to watch.
I'm trying to find it real time right now. It was on Instagram. I just want the short version of it.
Okay, you don't want to watch the whole thing.
Hell no, I don't want to watch the 2-hour thing right now.
Well, I think there's.
I'm doing a 2-hour live stream myself. I don't want to watch one.
You don't want to make it 4 hours.
All right. So what was interesting though is he said, I know what love is, or I know what God is, and he goes, I don't care what it is to other people.
Right. That's what his definition was.
You know what I'm talking about?
I do. Yeah.
So he goes, and I don't want to butcher this because it's a kind of a serious statement for him, but he basically said, God to me, and everyone can have their own opinion, which was a great way to frame it. He goes, but God is love. Big general statement, right? But then he went, and love, if you look at, and again, I'm not biblical and I don't follow the text that he was going from. He goes, it's selfless service, helping others. Now that resonates with me. That resonates big time. That was a pretty deep quote. That was a pretty deep quote. What I wanted to do, getting back to this, a third of men under 30 aren't having sex. I'd said this to B earlier. I'm gonna go through her comments, and let's see here. See if we can share this. Stop the screen. Give me a moment here, folks. Any questions on deck? We have 14 on deck. Any questions about your relationships or anything like that? Are you enjoying the live stream today? Donations are welcome on the super chat. Let me know what you think of B jumping in here. He's probably going to be in here more often. Hold on a sec.
Yeah, there are a couple good comments in there. Kind of what you were touching on.
You know what I'm saying? You saw it too?
Yeah,
all right, hold on a sec. I just want to, because I think that's pretty interesting that what some of these guys have said. It's kind of hard to see. So I'll read it then. So this guy writes, I'm 20, a virgin. I never had a girlfriend, including elementary and high school. So it's like, this is where people are hard on themselves. It's like, dude, why are you being so hard on yourself? You didn't have a girlfriend in elementary, including this is traumatic shit, dude. Right. It's like, come on, man.
I mean, high school, okay, like you didn't play the game in high school. But elementary, you got to throw that in there. All right.
Even if in high school,
true.
Well, I mean, I'm like, you could be a late bloomer.
Yeah, it's true.
Right over. Some people are nerds in high school and they're doing, you know what I mean? You change a lot.
No knock.
No knock.
Yeah.
I'm just focusing on myself to become a better me. Most men are starting to realize that most women aren't even approachable because of how entitled they are. This is where you fucked up,
That's
dude.
where you fucked up. That's definitely where you fucked up.
So you just created a case to not approach women. That's what you did. Now, this is like the standard. I'm just working on myself. No specifics.
Without getting
This is like driving me nuts about the internet now. No specifics.
Right.
It's like, I have a new gym routine. What do you do at the gym? Huh? It's like what are you doing to work on yourself? Well, I read some self-help books. It's like, I'm working on myself, but now, knowing that all women are not approachable right now,
But is
that's a cop out.
That's gonna shape your perspective on meeting any woman. Then, do you know what I mean? Like, you're not gonna. That's just weird. I don't like that.
So, yeah, I'm 20. I'm a virgin. I'm this, but this is why women aren't approachable now. It's like, no, dude, it's fine. It's fine. You're a virgin. It's fine that you're working on yourself, even though you're not being detailed about it. But then going, the reason I don't approach women and I'm a virgin is because they're not approachable these days. It's like, no. And they're entitled. There's some women out there that aren't entitled. You're gonna have to swim through the ones that are.
They're yeah.
And I'd like to ask, where are you meeting them? You're 20 years old. Where do you meet these women? All right, next one. I'm 22, currently single. I have got a job. Well, that's good. Congratulations. I regularly work out and train. Outstanding. However, in the past few months, I've seen a lot of women publicly shaming men for approaching them. I've seen means not firsthand.
Right. Like
so this
on
is
the
probably,
internet.
yeah. And let me tell you something, right? I think that people don't realize this, okay? People make these videos to trigger you.
Absolutely.
To get you excited.
Triggered and to get more views.
Right.
That's the goal.
So this has significantly knocked my confidence to the point where I'm actually scared to speak to the other gender. So let me say this. So I've seen a lot more women publicly shaming men. Where? And why are you making this a rule of your life?
Just because you've seen it somewhere online, you're going to
And my thing is like, if you came across, here's the thing. And this is actually, okay, so this is going to be an interesting perspective. Okay. I've had a few girlfriends over my life, right? On number 5, right? So long-term relationships. What I'm going to say is I've had girlfriends have girl nights or girl talks, or, they're going to go out with their friends for drinks and then they come to my house to warm up, right? To have a cocktail, to talk. So I hear girl gossip. I had an older sister, 5 years older. I've heard girl gossip. They do talk shit about guys. And there's some girls in the group that will just be like, oh, yeah, Dan's such an idiot. Oh, yeah, this guy came up to me in the mall. And I was like, ha, ha, ha. There are women like that. Not all. And those are the ones that are really insecure. So it's just a reflection of them getting out in front of their own insecurities. Okay? But and those kind of women, they don't fucking scare me at all. Because to me, I'm like, you're highly unattractive. Right. Like it's like right away I'm like, oh God. Like I've had altercations with women over the years, not many, that were like, you're talking at a restaurant or a bar or a get together or a family gathering or whatever. When I say family gathering, I mean like a barbecue, or you meet like your cousin's friend or whatever, and you're chatting, and the girl's she's just pretentious off the fucking get. I'm thinking of a situation. I remember I met this girl. I knew her sister, who was a teacher. I was a teacher. And she was visiting from Philadelphia while living in Thailand, right? So she's visiting from Philadelphia. You could just see that she was like...
She was already...
She had the little snarl lip, and she was fairly cute, but kind of like, oh yeah, what's your name? And her sister and me used to flirt sometimes and talk or whatever. I'm not going to get into the details of that. And she's like, oh, like, what do you do? I'm like, oh, I'm a teacher at XYZ University. I'm not going to say it. And I teach public speaking and creative writing. And she's like, that was so pretentious. And I was like...
She said that to you?
Like, in my head, I'm like, I went, okay. And I just took a sip of my beer.
Yeah.
And I just fucking ignored her for the rest of the night. Not because I was bitter, because I was like...
Okay.
I'm not going to explain, like, what? And I forgot. I said, what do you do? Oh, I'm a hygienist. Oh, that's impressive. Great.
Okay.
You did that for the money, right? Because who wants to clean people's fucking teeth? You imagine doing that job? You don't think about it, though, right? Like you're going to clean people's dirty teeth? You know how many people don't take care of their fucking teeth? Didn't say that, but in my head. But my point is, I wasn't triggered. I wasn't shamed. She said that in front of in a group. Oh, you're so pretentious. I thought to myself.
In front of people?
Yeah, I was just like,
lame.
Okay.
Yeah.
No sweat off my balls. I slept fine.
No, but I think I'm like you, where I just, I roll with that. Like, okay, that's who you are. You want to say something? Go ahead. Go
She
for
could
it.
have. She could have been Miss Universe.
Sure.
And I would have been like,
Okay, great.
well, you just told me who you are. Thanks. I appreciate it. We don't need to chat anymore. You seem like a real dead end.
Right.
It's like, you know what I mean? It's like the minute you say that to me and I don't find it true. Now, the problem is when you're really insecure, if you're really insecure, someone could say something and you're like, oh, yeah, maybe that's true. Maybe I said that wrong. And the problem is in America, people are so into like not hurting people's feelings and shit that if you come across someone like, oh, maybe I was pretentious. No, I actually really do that job and teach those classes. So I don't understand what's pretentious about it. But you know what? I'm not going to argue about it because it's, and you know, ignorance is bliss. I envy ignorant people. He probably doesn't even approach women. Sounds like he's just listening to everyone else's opinion of women.
Yeah.
I don't. What was that in regard to? Sorry, that
The comment, the last comment that you just read.
Oh, you mean the kid? Yeah. All right, let's get back to these comments. So, I'll be honest. Well, that's a great starting point. Thanks. I love when people start things like that. So here's the comment. I'll be honest. All right, that's a good part. That's a good way to be. Thanks, but I appreciate that. As a 25-year-old guy throughout college, I've been bombarded with women talking about men of all kinds, whether online or how much they hate them or don't want to be bothered by them. I've only ever approached 2 women in my life because I assumed that I'd be nothing more than a nuisance. This has 669 likes.
Wow.
So he's fully supported in this viewpoint. Number one, never seen the guy. Have to ask some questions like, how did you come to this conclusion? It's like, I've been bombarded with women talking about men of all kinds, whether online. So online's your source. That's secondary triggering information.
Or in real life, though. He does say.
Unbelievable. So that's my excuse. I've only ever approached 2 women in my life because I assumed that I'd be nothing more than a nuisance.
Nothing more than that's such a crazy statement.
You take something like that and you blame the women or you blame your outlook. So let me ask you this. There's 25-year-old guys out there. Like, we don't have a research study on this, but if we took 25-year-old guys across America and asked them their experience with and how they could relate to your experience, I think that what you're saying is you're putting way too much weight into what women online think.
Right. Like people you've never like met before.
All right, this is the next one. Honestly, not missing out on much, guys. Getting hooked up to a female legally and emotionally is extremely dangerous in this day and age. Look at this. 998 likes.
Oh my God. Wow.
So just, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, all right, man, just don't try, man. Just don't even go for it. Yeah, just stay at home and wank one. All right.
Because of all the red pill out there or whatever, you know, like I'm just gonna stay at home.
This guy, I went on hundreds of dates, and he wrote literally over several years before I found my wife. Well, at least we have someone here that's realizes it might take some time. The amount of effort it took was crazy, and I was rejected all the time. It took so much effort, but some of the ladies I know are absolutely wonderful and somehow don't ever get asked on dates. I always wondered why that is until I heard the sheer volume of time and effort they put into their careers. Again, this is okay. Guys aren't necessarily intimidated by successful women, but they're not even out in any space that a man could approach them to ask them on dates. Girls think a man wants a strong, independent woman, but the fact is that they want femininity. If I said that correctly. Can you say that? Femininity? Softness, kindness, and all the things that they don't have.
Right.
I would say that's true for him, the guy that made this comment, but there's plenty of guys that like strong, independent women. If you like that, I've had a girlfriend that was very strong and independent. We had a good relationship. No longer together, but I wouldn't say she was not feminine in moments or soft and kind and sweet. People have parts to them. They have themes. They have character. So women are this, men are that. Are women in certain cities and subcultures or places around the world more independent and more strong? Absolutely. Move. Let's be honest. Men are beginning to realize today's women isn't worth the hassle. Again,
That's the same theme. The same theme going on. My God.
Oh my goodness. Change your fishing holes, man.
Right.
I've never read it, and you know what it is? It's like, yeah, let's just not try.
Let's just not even try.
All men on this too. Surprise, surprise. Following Courtney Ryan.
Courtney.
This is because she's an intelligent and bright individual, I'm assuming. Number one and first and foremost. 35. I was at EDM show last weekend. Is that a group? EDM?
EDM is a music genre, I think.
Okay, first time in years, young crowd. I thought it was that. Young crowd, early 20s mostly. So you're already out of your demographic, dude. Everyone was packed in dancing, but weirdly afraid of touching one another. It was like everyone had a force field around themselves. Very surreal. I think this comes from Rona hysteria. I don't know what that is.
Corona.
Oh, okay. So he wrote, okay. Thanks, man. Combined with the threat, I think means I don't know, the threat of accusations of sexual assault in society demonizing masculinity, directness, forwardness. This is one of those cases. Don't go to concerts. Right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I went to this concert. Consider the fucking venue, dude.
Right.
Like, to me, if you're like, oh, girls don't even want to get touched at the concerts and stuff. Yeah, no, they don't. Have you seen the Woodstock documentary?
I just
I don't
saw
blame
a
them.
portion of it. It's crazy.
If I had a daughter, you got a daughter. Like, if I had a daughter in her teens, I'd be like, no, you're not going to concerts with 20,000 people. There is a lot of goons out there, and there is. I'm not worried about the corona thing or anything like that, but I could see people being a little standoffish.
A little bit more on guard at concerts.
So, like, when you're like, oh, at a concert, like, was there thousands of people in a group? Like, that's a different. Everyone wants to be free and express themselves. No, you do. But was simultaneously walking on eggshells around one another for fear of standing out too much. So strange and sad. Change the venue. Don't go to EDM concerts. I'm 22. Not a virgin.
Maybe you read some of the other comments.
Hi, I'm Mac. I'm not a virgin. Shocking. I'm 20. I'm 22. I'm not a virgin. Could get a girlfriend if I tried, but I feel like most women. Listen to this. Could get a girlfriend if I tried, but I feel like most women around my age are not worth it. Dang. Jesus.
Where are you going?
350 likes.
Where are you going? Jesus.
Exactly. Stay in your lane. Don't get distracted. You are a smart young man. You clearly haven't dated many women. You guys give off nice guy vibes. All right. So he writes, I feel like most women around my age are not worth it. Entitlement and unrealistic expectations have ruined them. Also, self-improvement has become very popular among my generation. We figured out that it's much better to stop chasing women and stay laser focused on your goals. Well, here's my 10 cents on it. Okay? You can be focused on your goals and still date, dude.
You both?
Yeah, like
come on.
Or you can say, I've done this in my life. I'm just going to take a break.
Right.
Like, I'm just going to take a break right now. If I meet someone, that'll be great. If I don't,
I'm cool with it.
Yeah, I'm totally fine. I'm not going to blame it on women being unrealistic and entitled.
Jeez.
But there are certain demographics or cities that I've lived in where I'm like, yeah, I'd rather take a break here.
Well, geez,
right.
The same theme of
but
these
don't,
comments.
But don't have it that all women your age. That's totally bullshit, dude.
Right.
You know what that tells me?
The content they're consuming, or I don't know.
No, you know what it tells me? What? Now this is something that I've found. This is my own quote that I live by. What I see in you, I see in me. I would say that he's a bit entitled and unrealistic. We haven't seen this guy's picture, but he has to disclose. I'm not a virgin. It's like, okay, believe you. I didn't steal the cookie from the cookie jar, Mom. Okay, we believe you. Let me check your pockets, bud. Right?
Yeah.
It's like right off the bat, I just want to let you know I'm not a virgin or anything. It's like, okay. Well,
We got it.
We've just identified you as not good with women, right? With that comment. Courtney, I am 67 and been alone for 4 years. I was married at one month into 20, lost my wife to cancer after 43 years. Hard to hear that, man. I really find it interesting, the attitudes of women now. I really never dated a lot until her. Loneliness is a bummer. Women are harder to meet, to just become a friend with. Seems they're all damaged and fearful. So here's the thing. What I see in you, I see in me. Now, I say this with absolute compassion. I'm being honest. 67, I mean, man, that would be brutal. 43 years, great run as a marriage, right? Would you say that he's probably a little damaged and fearful himself?
Yeah.
Think about that for a minute, folks. Seems they are all damaged and fearful. Someone that lost their wife after 43 years, like I said, full compassion.
Right.
This is not like me making a joke. Wouldn't you say like some of the things that would probably affect him, he'd probably have to go to some therapy,
Sure.
that he was damaged and fearful of a new relationship.
Right.
Dude, if you were 43 years with a woman, it's going to be, my grandfather was like that. My grandmother passed away, they were 40 years plus, never married again. 40 years?
Yeah.
Marriage and kids, it's very hard to date after that because you're so typecasted. If you're a certain kind, my grandpa was like church, devoted, and he was fine that he never got married again.
Sure. Yeah.
But this isn't because women are bad.
No.
This is because you need time.
That was just his personal.
Also, they
situation.
seem to be looking for a sugar daddy, and I'm not one. Well, if you're 67 and you're looking at, I bet you're looking in a certain demographic. I've had clients that are in their 60s and they say that, and they're trying to date 25-year-olds.
Right.
Not
right.
saying that's about you. May I suggest the free love and playing around has come around to harm us now? I don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't know about that either.
But think about that. What I see in you, I see in me. And when you hear people make a comment about you, like, oh, you're, for example, that girl I just made that comment, she goes, oh, you're pretentious? She was pretentious. Social media and dating apps have totally destroyed modern romantic relationships. Gee, what a dramatic statement. How about this? I don't like dating apps. I don't really like dating apps. Now, destroyed modern relationships. Jesus. And there's going to be a serious consequences to pay for this further down the road we get. Get out of here. They're here to stay. People use them.
Deal with it.
Some like them. And like the guy, the best example so far in these comments, the guy's like, I had to go on literally hundreds of dates before I met my wife. That's what it's going to be like. If you
Yeah.
filter right, it's going
Right.
to probably, but guess what? The odds might be in your favor at 50 or 40. You're just going to have to date more.
And if you have more of like an idea of like how you're filtering or your, better filters for it, I think it's going to be better for you.
Beyond the filters is, I'm going to come back to this again and again. Where do you hang out?
Right. I've heard you talk about this a lot.
Fucking
and it makes
nauseating. Where do you
total
hang
sense.
out?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm like, and then the classic, I went to the club. The club's not very good to meet quality women.
Other than,
When you're in your early 20s,
Sure.
for hookups.
for hookups, yeah. I mean, there's some utility there, but, as a long-term,
Not to
relationship
mention
finder, no.
the dark lighting and the alcohol really change the picture. You wake up in the morning, you're like, holy shit.
Yeah, right.
I'm recently divorced in my late 30s and still worries me. My generation didn't grow up with social media dictating their life and giving them unrealistic expectations. God, these 1,000 likes on this comment. I've recently divorced in my late 30s and still and this still worries me. How about just stop worrying about it? My generation didn't grow up with social media dictating their life and giving them unrealistic expectations. So I'm 41, so close to your late 30s. We're in the same game. Didn't grow up with social media. Had a pager at 17.
But if you feel uncomfortable meeting people on social media, like you said, what's your are you hanging out in chat rooms?
Their
Or
life
what are you
and giving
doing?
them unrealistic expectations. So many women these days feel they are entitled to more than they are worth. Even I would ask this: who is it that you follow and watch videos of?
What's the content you're consuming?
That's what I would ask. Who's supporting this?
Right.
Even following advice in these types of videos with taking care of yourself, going to the gym, having a steady, reliable job, owning my own home, having hobbies makes me feel like it'll be hopeless.
Why would that make you feel
Hopeless means you're depressed.
Yeah.
The definition of depression is having no hope. To try to find someone again. So here's the thing. Can I just stop you as a breakup relationship coach, being at ground zero in breakups, knowing relationships? Right there is your problem. You're trying to find someone again. You need to start with just going on dates and finding one good date that you have fun again, where you meet someone that likes you and you click. and then you can just feel like there's some momentum. But you're looking to find someone again.
Like the one.
Yeah, that's the
Like
problem.
Immediately, no.
Even with understanding there's an abundance of single women out there, I don't think their mentality isn't in a safe place anymore. Wow, all of them? A woman can be completely average at best and still get thousands of sad and pathetic. This is just regurgitating the videos.
The exact same thing, yeah.
You completely average at best and get thousands of sad and pathetic men posting replies of hearts and fire emojis on their socials. This only fuels their narcissism and makes them think they are a 10 when in reality they are a 5. The ones that appear to have sane outlook on life and actually work to achieve something in a career only make their dating pool potential smaller and smaller. Wow, man. And the men in the upper tier only have a larger and larger pool of potentials. So with their huge pool of potential women, they have no incentive to be loyal to anyone either and always looking for the next best thing. So this is where I'm at. Low value women with high value expectations. Well, that's what you're going to get. This is where I'm at. You're going to find that everywhere you go because your subconscious wants to be right.
And it's searching.
You already have that figured out. Yeah. But you're not going, let me think about this in a different way. Like how can I make this work? Where can I meet the high value women with low value expectations? Is that what you're trying to say? Low dating potential, high value men with huge See these terms, high value men? I know you've been watching a lot of videos then.
Because they're using the same thing over and over, yeah.
High value men with huge dating potential but no incentive to settle down, just bounce around to different women. And finally, low to average men making up a huge portion of the population being deemed near useless. But this is just so extreme, man. I was married for 20 years and the sex occurred on average every 4 to 6 weeks.
Not much often, okay.
Most often not worth the wait. Well, was there a reason you didn't abort that mission sooner? Or did many marriages are entirely sexless? So you're going to speak for all marriages. Okay. That qualifies you. Looking back now, honestly, it's not really worth it. When you are a young man, it's easy to focus on so much on sex, especially if you feel you are being starved of it. But times change things. Honestly, if you can control your urges, you are better off staying single and celibate.
Celibate? Okay.
Well, might as
Maybe
well. If
for
you only
him.
get it once every 4 to 6
Yeah.
weeks, fuck it.
Yeah.
And it's bad.
And it's bad. So let's speak for everybody.
So there's a
out there.
sample size. Well, if you're going to get it for every 4 to 6 weeks and it's bad, might as well just go celibate
That's
and then
just
you can
not-
accept
yeah.
it.
There you go.
Sex is the power women use over you to manipulate you. Speak for yourself, bud.
Jeez.
That is the soul power, nothing else. Harnessing your strength and energy into a more positive direction frees a man. Focusing on your youthful desires on someone who dangles sex over your head or the lack thereof is draining and defeating to the male psyche. It's like quitting smoking. Once you get past the first 6 months, it loses permanent hold on you. You are freed. Okay. Wow.
Jeez.
Women adopting a masculine mindset. Yeah, that's a big problem, writes Jay.
Women die.
Jeez.
I applaud these young men.
I applaud these young men. There's no reason to willingly get entangled in toxicity of modern women.
Again, speaking for everyone here. Just all women are like this, you know?
And everyone,
Jeez.
just to get back to the live stream here, every one of these guys are basing everything on personal experience, but they're saying this is all men, this is all women.
On the very small sample size they're having. Yeah.
Wow. So is it even possible for an average guy to meet someone? Absolutely yes, right? Might take some time. I don't know. What's the answer for all these guys, B? What do you think?
Jeez, I don't know. Just give up, man. Just give up.
No, that's not what's being done. What's being done is building a case why
That's
it's
true.
not
Yeah,
worth
that's
it.
True. Right. I'm gonna build up a case in my head.
They're not going to say they're
no.
not going to say I gave up. It's like let me build. I was just talking
that's
about.
the
I was just
theme.
talking to someone about this. I said you can build a case for anything you want on
Sure.
the internet.
Sure. Or you can find it. You can find it out there, and like you said, build your case. Absolutely.
Eve Colt said sexual assault and harassment still very much lurking in many places.
Yeah.
EDM would be my last place to attend.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, like concerts. Come on.
I went to a concert and none of the girls wanted to rub up against me.
No one.
Can you include your picture in the comments, dude? When you make, it's like they didn't even want to touch me. It's like, and I was 35. Most of them were in our 20s. Yeah, dude. When you're 35 and everyone's in their early 20s, they look at you like you're 80.
Yeah. And did you look like me when I was in COVID and had a neck beard and everything?
Like me being 41 now, and I feel like I'm in pretty good shape. I'm pretty confident and stuff. I've been around people 22, and it's like, oh yeah, you're how old? Oh my God. It's like you'll get there someday, hun. Right? Yes. When I see odd couples together, I hope for just about every. There's
exceptions. I mean, come on.
I think that a lot of the guys that are bitching, to be honest, and there's some truth to this. Let me just say this. I'm not discounting this. I've been back to America. I understand the entitlement. I get it. I understand the pretentiousness. It's more of an epidemic of culture rather than just women. So if you look at what's being provided for content, this is what's pushing this agenda. It's not just organically happening. Okay? But instead of looking for, I'm just going to go celibate, which is pretty fucking extreme,
That's
but
a little
okay.
Extreme.
Whatever. What can you do to make yourself the one guy? It's like, look at it this way, right? How does someone become an entrepreneur and outstandingly rich, right? I've met a few in my life. I'm not one of them. I haven't even ran this channel very good. Been on it 4 years.
Yeah.
There's people that have been on it 4 years and they got fucking way more subscribers because that's how we measure things on YouTube, right? So and they're better business and marketing people than I am. Maybe they have better content. I don't know. But think about it like this, right? So you got all these people in the world, and the people that I meet, that there's a certain sect of people that you meet that are rich because their family's rich. Mm-hmm. So it's not just that they grew up rich and they have a trust fund, but they got taught how to value money.
And
like at a young age, I didn't know what an asset was when I was a kid. Pops was a truck driver. Yours was a truck driver too. It's like I wasn't. I was taught to get a good job with benefits, right?
Right. That was highly weighted.
Right. Now, here's the thing. Where am I going with this? Everyone wants to be rich. Some people go, I don't care about money, but they wouldn't mind being rich. Right? I would have a hard time meeting people. Go, I don't want to act like rich people or money corrupts people. Yeah.
Sure.
But if I said, hey, you want $5 million? Could you do good things with it? Well, yeah, I'll take it. Right. So there's a large portion of people like, oh, these people are just getting rich. They're just business people, right? Okay. So they found a way to build a business or an entrepreneur in this crazy world of competitive stuff. So you can't find a way to meet one chick? You can't find a golden path to meet more women? Think about that for a minute. It's like people are beating the odds in other arenas.
Well, it's going to hinder you a little bit if you go into the game
It's just
with a
a
mindset like that.
Well, it's just a mindset. If I said, there's no way I'll ever get out of making this much money, or it's the same thing. It's just a limited mindset.
Right.
Just a limited mindset. All right, I'm going to wrap this up. This has been spirited and good. Did you guys like this today with B on the mic to help out, get a little bit more juice in the conversation?
More juice.
Like I said, Super Chat is welcome. We have Sloan Magnum. Sloan's actually a big E40 fan.
E40?
Yeah.
Nice.
E-Fazy. Yes, when I...
Grit and grind.
Only asking for the quality that you already possess from other partner. What I see in you, I see in me. I think that, like I said, a lot of the people that accuse other people of things, if they took a moment and goes, how true is that about me? I've just recently done that in my life, and I'm like, oh shit.
More like introspective, like, okay.
This person's a liar. Have you ever lied before?
Maybe I have. Okay.
Yeah, once. My friend is a serial online dating. She is always dating. You know what? You know why she's good at it? Because she's done it a lot.
She's done it.
Came on, I'd date a garbage man if he at his best and happy of his life, humble, healthy, kind person, plus emotionally mature is enough. Oh my God, you're asking a lot, Eve. You're asking too much. Jeez, you're pretentious.
Internet people are crazy. Sometimes.
Here's what I would say. Stop. I do tell people this sometimes. I say, make a list of what you want, right? Or things like that. But be open to
different.
Yeah, if you're at a point where you just want to date again, go, like I said, go on bad dates and stuff like that, because you just need to get out there and practice again.
Right.
That doesn't mean to take advantage of people. It just means to get mingle and single and single and mingle.
Yeah.
I know a lady who got married last week in her 80s. My grandmother was married 4 times, had 3 husbands die on her, and she was single for about a total of 3 or 4 weeks in between each. Now someone's like, "Oh my God!" I'm like, really? She's a catch.
That's what it was.
Right? Like, someone else might go, "Oh, I can't meet anyone." Grandma met one in 3 weeks after the. Amazing. Husbands, good guys. Jimmy J. The standards are too high because of social media. Women expectations are not realistic, especially girls in their 20s. All right. All right. So what's the answer? Is the answer to be Jimmy J? All right, I'm with you. What's the answer then? To be celibate? Where to not use certain dating apps? I'm with you because there is a demographic. Fresh and Fit, the show has that demographic on. There is a group that that's absolutely true. Is it possible that there's some good women out there?
Yeah, the world's a big place. I think there's some. I think there's some good ones.
Is there some fishing holes you're not hitting up yet? I've told people before. I've told some of them and I tell them some big ones. Where would you meet better women? Where would you meet better women? Some 20 are still a mental puberty process. Okay. Yes, but they're always taken, man. You know what? You know what's funny about that? Being a breakup coach? There's some people you meet and you're like, you're not going to be single long. Because they have so many things going for them outside of it. But you need to find the places where those women frequent, and you need to frequent there. Like I was just telling someone recently, church, I don't go to church, but if you're mildly religious, yoga or spin class, any group exercise class would be a good one.
What about the things you're into? Like I'm into golf or whatever. Like if I'm around golfers, and stuff whatever.
Women golf?
Oh yeah.
I'm just fucking with you because I don't golf.
Yeah. But things that you're hobbies that you're into, similar things.
I would say that's more ideal. I mean, my thing is where are you going to meet? When you go to the bar or club, you can meet a quality woman.
Yeah, you're not.
You better go to a quality club.
Sure.
Don't go to a dive bar
and expect to find.
Right. But look at those venues that you're going to, and then the dating apps that you're on. Go on a deep dive research of dating apps beyond Tinder.
Right.
I don't know them all.
But there's got to be some
put your mind to the fact that you're going to overcome the fact that women's expectations are high on social media and not realistic. How are you what would be the strategy to overcome this? Move your city.
Yeah.
Cities count.
Yeah.
I can't move. All right. I've heard that before.
I know that's a realistic, I can't.
Just had a client recently. He was in area of North Carolina. He's like, "Oh, it's horrible here. The options are horrible here." He goes, "I can't move. I got a kid." I'm like, "All right."
It can be hard a lot of times to just pick up and go.
But is there, by focusing on, and I don't mean this in a woo-woo self-improvement, overly positive, but focusing on the social media, women expectations, not realistic, I think there is going to be a movement of people. I've talked about this before at some point, and I don't know when, where there's going to be social media rehab, and there's going to be a revolt on it,
right?
And there's going to be groups. I could start it,
right? Literally, there'll be a place where you can go.
I mean, technically, to be honest, YouTube is social media.
Yeah.
Someone told me this a while ago because of the comments. But moving's one of the best things you can do. And move somewhere. Here's the thing. When you fucking feel better, you're more attractive.
Like the energy you give off is
like I was
gonna, for sure.
You when you feel better.
Right.
When you live in certain cities, you feel better. I only know that because I've lived in, I don't know, 7 or 8 different places.
Right.
It's different than, I'm going to go on vacation to Cancun and go on a bunch of, expeditions.
Well,
that's not
Yeah.
living somewhere.
Right. And I was thinking about this, like when you move to a new place, like your vibe is different, your experience, like it's just a different mentality.
This is one of the things I live by in my life. Always live where people go on fucking vacation. Oh, I can't do that. Why? Why? Sell your fucking car. You're miserable. Right? Change the dream you have to have a house with nice granite countertops and 4-bedroom, 3,000 square feet. That's the big one in this. And eventually I'll get a motor home and a ski boat. And then I made it. Nope. How about that? Live where people go on vacation. Now, when you live in better places where you're happier, you're in a better mood. The other people are in better moods. I always like to live by a beach. Some people don't like the beach. Love it. Never gets old for me. Love to live near nature. I grew up in the Bay Area. It's a hotbed for good work. Right? I would never want to move back to the Bay Area. No offense.
Some people might want to live that, in that city life. That's totally fine. But, that I think if you're filtering for like you said, you like the beach, that's great.
It's like a lot of people look at what are you looking for first? A good job. What are you looking for first? Where there's good women. It's like different areas are going to provide different things.
Sure.
When I lived in San Diego, there was 4 major universities. It was a great place to be 20-something. Great place because the demographics. Everyone was in your age group. It was sunny. The weather's good. That provides better moods.
The weather's like some of the best in the world.
It's like late 70s. Why would I say late 70s? High 70s. Jimmy J says, I'd love to live in the U.S. I just graduated in my master's, but work visa is so hard to get. So what would be an alternative to the States? Why does it have to be the U.S.? Why does it have to be is there an alternative to the States?
Absolutely.
Well, get creative about that. Canada or New Zealand seem like great countries. I don't know if they're easier. I think Canada used to be easier.
Yeah.
People there are great. You're a foreigner in a new country. It's a fresh perspective. You're meeting new cultures. You're in the right place. You choose the place you want to go to. It's a fucking outstanding experience. This whole idea, you're setting all these rules in place. What you're really doing when you're like, all the women are pretentious, all the women are like this. It's like, look around. Where are you hanging out? Where are you spending time consuming content? That's what's matriculating this. Yeah, but it's true. No, it's true to you. Is it true that that's happening? Yeah. I don't hang out with those people. I don't. I don't hang out on recently when I have to look up reaction videos, I'm like, God, they're just drilling people with this. It's sad.
Same thing. Boom, boom. Yeah.
And what they're doing is they're just keeping you on deck with these look at these comments.
Right. And they all have the same
Look at these comments. Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, I'm 29, never been in a relationship. I'm 6'3", average looks, and just got a finance degree. So the fact that you think you have average looks, I'd have to ask you, where's that come from? Here's the thing, dude, too, about looks. You know the thing about looks? It's like you always look better with effort. That gets lost sometimes. What do you mean? It's like, well, just a few different things, like a better haircut or this or that. But then there's the people that just have confidence and don't give a fuck, and they're attractive too sometimes.
Definitely. Just that confidence?
Yeah.
Definitely.
Haven't noticed a girl show interest in me since middle school.
Middle school.
God, dude.
Jeez.
Here's the great thing about these comments. That's your problem.
Right.
So what's going to prove that a girl has interest in you? Number 2, you're 6'3" and you're 29. You're already at an advantage. You got a finance degree, so someone might think you're fucking smart, right? So you're waiting for someone to notice you? Whoa, man. Book a live coaching session, my friend. I'll help you out. Being more introverted as a guy definitely hurts bad. You can overcome that.
Just
actually,
like you said, there's different places you can go.
Yeah, hang out in a library.
Yeah. Seriously, you don't have to go to a club or anything.
haven't noticed a girl show interest in me. You know what's funny about that? Is
Your perception on that? Like
your perception, yeah. Like when I was younger and more insecure in my life, I'd later on I'd be like, that girl liked me.
she
I didn't
actually did, and
You probably had that too, right?
At the time, you're like
the
"Oh,
window
she did.
closed."
Yeah, and it's done.
To be honest, looks do matter. They do.
To a certain extent, for sure.
They absolutely do matter. But you have more. This is the thing. You have more power about your looks than you think. Right? And here's the thing, Jimmy J. If you decide what's popular from looks by looking at movie stars or people on Instagram, then you're going to be really skewed because a lot of them have a bunch of fucking filters on their camera. Right? Number two, that's why like the classic like go to the gym. If you're insecure about your looks, then you can get your body on deck for most people within 6 months to a year. There's before and after, and that right there is like, oh well, we'll come up with that excuse then. Right? If looks are your insecurity, if that's real, usually it's more than that. And actually, people that are driven to have nice bodies are usually deep down inside very insecure.
Makes them work.
Oh, the most insecure people are the ones that are like hardcore. Looks can get you so far. The rest is up to you. Without a doubt.
Yeah, you shouldn't put weight on any one thing.
Without a doubt, looks count and they give people advantages. Okay? They're going to people that are better looking are going to get advantages. But in the end, you can, you know what this is the thing when you settle for this, you're going to look more attractive when you feel better about yourself. Right? And someone could go, "Oh, well you're not like if someone said to me like, "Well, you're a 5, Mac," or something. Good for you. What, on your scale? I don't
Right. Yeah.
Every person that judges your looks an individual, and guess what? Someone out there is going to go, "Oh wow, I really like your eyes," or "I really like this." Everyone's different, man. I've had friends over the years that are attracted to certain women. I'm like, "Wow, that one?"
It wouldn't fit in the way I'm looking at it, but okay.
Put in
different.
effort into looking better, and you'll feel better, and feeling better will give you confidence. And I always say this, man. I always say this about confidence. Confidence comes from being good at a few things. It's not looks. It's not. It's like a shoe cobbler. If he's a fucking outstanding shoe cobbler in New York City,
top 10 shoe
yeah, and
cobbler in
he's
New York.
you know like he's fucking famous.
Right.
He'll make you custom shoes, and you're just like, that guy will have a confidence about him.
Right, and he could be like on the scale of
He could be 5'5",
right, and
right?
a 3
But
on
he's
someone's
good
scale.
at something useful,
Right.
and artistic or creative. That's the thing. Now that's the problem when you settle for mediocrity or you settle for something like, right? It's like Petty Betty. You do nails, you do beauty stuff. You're good at it. I can tell, hon. We've done live coaching. You got confidence because you're good at something, and you actually make women more attractive with their nails, their hair, what have you. You connect with them. That makes you more confident. Not taking pictures on Instagram or anything.
And filtering. Yeah.
Right? So being good at something is a big one, man. Being good at something you're proud of. It's big. That's what adds to it a big time. If you take a boring job that you're not proud of, and then you're like, oh, all women just like guys with better looks. It's like, let's get a little deeper on why you feel bad about yourself. Is it really that? I've been there before in my life. I'm not bulletproof. All right, folks, this has been good. Like I said, we went a full 2 hours. I want to thank B. I think this was good. We'll definitely do this again.
Right on.
And Jimmy J, thanks for stepping in. Eve Sloan Magnum. What a name.
Right, Flint.
Sloan Magnum.
Sloan. That is a name. I love it. Roller Girl.
Roller Girl and Eve, and it's been a female thing today, hasn't it? Doesn't bother me one bit. I don't have Instagram, so I wouldn't know, but yeah, I like what I do, I think you're going to say. Bye-bye. Till next time. Be back on deck tomorrow. Take care.
Later, guys.